Hello, and welcome to Farm for Future. In today's video, we'll explore how much land is used for agriculture, why this can be problematic, and what can be done to make our land use more sustainable. So we use a ton of land for agriculture as a species. Just how much of the world's land is used to grow food? Globally, about 5 billion hectares, or 38% of all land, is used for agriculture. 1/4 of this land is used to grow crops, while 3/4 of it is used to feed or pasture livestock. The world's population has increased rapidly in the last few hundred years, and along with it, the amount of land used for growing food has skyrocketed. This change has left less and less natural and wild habitat remaining on Earth. So, what are the effects of converting vast areas of land into agricultural zones? When agricultural fields replace natural habitat, the topsoil is regularly tilled and no longer covered completely with plants. Due to pesticides and less diversity in plant species than before, the diversity of microorganisms living in the soil also decreases. Nutrients in the soil are used by crops faster than they can naturally be replaced. When topsoil is exposed from tilling and cutting down the crops, it can be washed away by water or blown away by the wind, and it takes hundreds of years to reaccumulate. A 2021 study examined the environmental impacts for converting Midwestern grassland to corn and soybean fields. They found that between 2008 and 2016, 2 million hectares of grassland were turned into cropland in the Midwest, which resulted in a 7.9% increase in soil erosion and 5.6% less organic carbon storage compared to levels before the transition. Cropland stores less carbon than natural land because frequently disturbed soil releases carbon into the atmosphere. Most crops are harvested yearly and don't get a chance to develop extensive root systems that would store lots of carbon from the atmosphere. Since cropland takes up so much of our planet, the lost carbon storage from the forests and grasslands that were cut down for the agricultural land contribute significantly to increased levels of atmospheric greenhouse gases, most notably carbon dioxide, which has been linked to climate change. Another major impact of wild land being turned into farmland is the resulting loss of biodiversity. When a varied, balanced, and complex ecosystem is replaced by a single plant species, the animals and plants that live there are displaced. This has led many species to become extinct, and often encourages animals to move into areas inhabited by people in search of food, becoming pests and sometimes spreading disease. It is worth noting the disproportionate amount of land that animal agriculture uses in comparison to producing plant foods. Producing 1,000 calories of beef uses 180 times as much land as 1,000 calories of corn. It's simply less efficient to grow plants for cows and then eat the cows than for people to eat the plants directly. Of course, no one can live off corn alone, and especially Westerners tend to think they need a steak at every meal to get enough protein. However, when we look at these same foods as before, but in terms of the land used to get 100 grams of protein, red meat and dairy products are still the most land-intensive protein sources. Legumes, fish, eggs, grains, and peanuts are far more sustainable protein sources in terms of land use. If the entire world stopped eating beef and lamb, we would cut the amount of land used for agriculture in half, even when accounting for increased consumption of other foods. Cutting out dairy as well would almost quarter our current land use. With these reductions, more land could be rewilded, increasing biodiversity, carbon storage, and recreation opportunities. The good news is that with the help of technology, we've gotten far more efficient at growing crops in recent years. It only takes 29% of the land to grow a given amount of food than it did to grow that same amount of food in 1961. Per capita, we're using far less land to grow food than we have in past decades. But the population has grown so much that the overall amount of agricultural land has increased. Most of the recent increases in farmland have come from sub-Saharan Africa and the rainforests of South America. In many countries, including the US, land use for farming has actually decreased slightly in recent years. As the world population continues to grow, we will need to find new ways to create higher yields per acre of farmland. Additionally, cutting back on red meat will have large impacts on agricultural land use, as much of that land could be turned back into nature. I hope you found this video informative. Don't forget to hit that like button, leave your suggestions for video ideas down below, and I will see you in the next one.